Hello everybody. Today during this video we are going to do the Star Shimmer border. It's part of the Stella mixer groups, and this border number is JNQ00268B003. The other thing you need to know about this border is it finishes at the size of 57 inches square, all right? And if you want this quilt to be larger than that 57-inch square, then you have to move on to a mixer group that we call the C borders, and then from the C borders you have to go to a mixer group called the D borders, okay? Otherwise, this quilt stops at the size of 57 inches, which is for a 3-round star grouping, okay? The border, I think, is a very attractive border. In the coloring process of this border, we gave you the options to color the 4 side units one colorway, and then the 4 corner units another colorway. So by doing that, we had to build 2 colorways for our B1 units and our B2 units. So as we go through these instructions, you might get a little bit confused with how I'm putting things together, but the instructions are correct. If you have some of the patterns that these instructions have been used in, besides the Star Shimmer border mixer package, I believe it's used in Cosmic Shimmer, it's used in the Starfire, and what you need to do is go out there and check for corrections in those patterns, because we've made a few corrections to it, and some of those corrections you probably want to download, okay? They're not going to be the type of corrections where you can't figure it out. It's just going to be when you get to it, you're going to go, oh, that's labeled it correctly, okay? And when I'm doing the video, I'm actually going to tell you where you might want to go check your corrections. But hopefully when you guys purchase another pattern, or if you haven't purchased a pattern before me doing this border, then your instructions are going to be correct, all right? So they're pretty minor corrections, but let's move forward. I just want you guys to know that that's out there. The Group B Star Shimmer border, it has, we use 3 bags for that. One bag is for the Unit B1 papers, and the other bag is for the Unit B2 papers, and the third bag is for the background templates that finish up, that square up your quilt, okay? Now, I've already cut out all of the foundation papers and all of the tea templates off of the newsprint and sorted them into those 3 bags. So you guys are going to have to go do that on your own. I'm not going to go through and sort. It's so easy to do because you really only have the 3 bags. And all of the papers go in bag 1 and 2, and the templates go in bag 3. Okay? Now, I should say temporarily the templates go in bag 3. So now we're going to go to the fabric information. And what I want to bring to your attention is you have the ability to color a lot of these different colors, or you can do it all the same color, all right? So I'm going to try to explain that a little bit. We have a fabric B1A, and that's in the demo that I'm doing. That's my black fabric. And then we have a fabric B1B. Now I'm using black fabric as well for B1B, but you might have like a black and a purple fabric. It will work out that way for you. Then you have a B2A and you have a B2B fabric. And there again, those can be two different colors, which in what I'm building right here, I'm using the two colors because I want you to see how to sort them. We have a B3A and a B3B. There's two different colors that I'm using. We have a B4A and a B4B. I'm using two colors for those that grouping. My B5A and my B5B are two colors. And then I have a fabric B6. And the B6 can only be one color. Okay, and those go with your T templates, which finish the outside of the quilt. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to flip to page 2 in the instructions. And I want to bring your attention to the fabric layout up here. Last night when I was going through this, I added the unit names to my instructions, but most of the instructions out there aren't going to have that unit name. But I want you to know that this picture is the paper. Okay, so I'm going to pull out a unit B1. It's really easy to pair it up. But if I look at my B1 papers, I can just put a little mark on there and say, this is my B1 paper, and then my other B1 paper is actually this one. So these two are B1, and these two are my B2 papers, okay? And this drawing right here, this color layout, matches the foundation papers when you're looking at them. So the next thing I want to point out is there's 8 papers here. The B1 group over here is done with one colorway, and the B1 group over here is done with another colorway. And I've put little fabric swatches on here because this is going to keep you organized. If you don't do the fabric swatches, you may get really confused with what you're doing. Okay, so notice that on both my papers, for section 1, I have my dark color right here and a light color here, but I'm using 2 different fabrics. Okay, on my B3A sections, this is B13 section, I should say, and the fabric, this is my A group fabric, which is a dark, and this is my B group fabric, which I used a light color there. Then when I go to my section 5, that fabric is my B4 fabric. So this fabric is my B4A, and this one over here is my B4B fabric. And then when we get to section 7, that fabric is called B5A, and I have my light color on my A section, and I have a dark color on my I'm sorry, this is my A section and this is my B color. Okay, so you just need to know that those are opposites, the way those colors. Now this could be all yellow and this one could be all pink, but you're going to have 2 different colors there if you use the AB option. I'm also going to pull the papers out for unit B as well, and I want you to see that unit B, so this side piece right here, that pairs up to my unit B, and then this one over here pairs up to my unit B. So it sets like that, so you can see unit B and unit B. Okay, Now, I also have the same thing going on with my fabrics for here. So I put my little swatches on there. My A group is for this group of papers, and my B group of fabric is for this group of papers, okay? And it's kind of does the same thing as the others, because you're going to see here in just a minute. So when I get done with the paper piecing for these units, I'm going to have this B2 paper, and it's my fabric B group, and it's going to pair up to my unit B1 papers and the B group over here. So that's the way that's going to pair up. And then this group is going to be a B2 group and a B1 group, and these are my A groups of fabric. So now I've got a star. The way I colored this, I started with my light fabrics, and I'm going up to my dark on one of my groupings, and on the other grouping I'm starting with the darks at the bottom, and I'm building up to my light colors. Okay, so you can color this pretty much any way you want, but you need to remember that you have all your B fabrics are going to stay together, and all your A fabrics are going to stay together. If you choose to only use one color for all of your points, then it's really simple. You just cut them all out of the same fabric. Okay, so we're going to put all of our B2 pieces back together, and we're going to do the B1 pieces, and we're going to place them back into their bag. And I'm going to leave my bag setting on my table, because as we start cutting, we have to start sorting and putting the pieces where they need to go in the appropriate bag. So I have already paired up my template layout sheets with my fabric color. So the first thing I'm going to cut out is fabric B1A and fabric B1B. And I'm using black background for both my A fabric and my B fabric, okay? I have two template layout sheets. I have a template layout sheet number 1 and a template layout sheet number 2. And they're mirror images of each other, okay? You can see how those work. When you look at the way the fabric is, the layout sheets are positioned onto the fabric graphics here, what you're going to notice as these pieces are cut basically right on the center fold. If you have fabrics that have a right and wrong side, you have to have everything stacked right side up. Now my fabric does not have a right and a wrong side, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to cut these right on the fold, because I'm working with a small table. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull 1, 2, 3, 4 of those pieces, and I'm going to set them over here and place these with my unit B2 papers. And then I'm going to place these papers with my unit B1 papers. Okay? So we're going to go through the cutting process on this. We're going to pick up the first half, and it's going to match the picture. We're going to grab our pen. I'm going to get rid of my fabric information. This is my repositionable glue. And we're going to let that dry for just about 30 seconds or so. mostly because I'm using black fabric, and if I want it to dry enough to where I don't have to worry about it leaving little chunks of glue onto my fabric. So I think we're good. Now this one tells me to flip this just like that. And what I want to do is, because this is my selvage edge, I'm going to check this selvage edge, and I'm going to cut and make sure the selvage is cut off all of my pieces. And it is. Okay. So now let's just take this, because I only have one template, and we're going to cut along that edge, and then I'm going to fold this back and I'm going to cut that piece. And I have to have 8 of these pieces, so I'm going to flip this over and restack it on the other half of that section, and make sure that you're straight along this edge, that you don't have any pieces that are short there. Once you get that on, then we can recut, and then we're going to cut this side. And we're going to put a paper clip on each one of those sections before we cut them apart. Now, I'm going to move forward just a little bit and look to see what my paper piecing graphics are. And my graphics for the paper piecing are for unit B1. So I'm going to place these pieces back into bag 2, and we're not going to cut them apart till we're ready to make them. Now we're going to cut the other side. And on this one, it tells me to put the first one up like this. Check my edges. And then I'm going to start right here and cut. Then I'm going to fold this piece down, and we're going to cut along this edge. Now we're going to flip this up, bring the fabric with it, and we're going to flip it over, rotate that, and then I'm good along that edge, so I'm going to cut along this edge, get that selvage off of it. Then we're going to cut here. Now we're going to put 4 paper clips on here. And then I'm going to find cut line 1. And my cut line 1 starts with section 2, and my cut line 3 ends with section 8. So we're going to just start cutting. The This is cut line 2. And cut line 3. Now we're going to stack these. Put 8 on the bottom, then 6, 4, and 2. And we're going to clip these together right now. And these go in bag B1. And I'm just going to set them on the top of B1. Okay, now we're at fabric B2A. And I have separated all of the fabrics and stacked them, pre-stacked them, so you guys don't have to watch me stack. So the very first fabric in my stack, it looks like this is my B5 fabric. So that's my last group. This one's my B4. This one's B3. And this one is my B2. So let's set these aside right now. When you're reading through your instructions, so it tells me that I want to use fabric B2A and B2B. And my layout sheet includes 2 template pieces. And it's telling me that I want template number 3 and template number 4. So if I look at these, actually that's template layout sheet number 3 and template layout sheet number 4. And if I look underneath here, this is my template layout sheet number 4, okay? And I have them stacked. So we're going to open them up. Here we go. And the way I stacked them was with fabric B2A on the top. So B2A is on the top. And the B2B fabrics are on the bottom. Now I'm going to look at the graphic below there, and it tells me to place the number 4 layout sheet along the left side. And the number 3 layout sheet is going to go along the right edge. So let's okay, so before I go any further with this, I want to explain how did I know where these fabric swatches went? Well, that's where my picture comes into play up here. Is it tells me where those fabrics go. I took and referenced all of these fabrics onto my template or onto my foundation papers. And then I matched these pieces up to the foundation papers so that I knew what my color swatches would be in the preparation of what I was doing. For you guys, it's going to tell you where your colors are going to go on here, because and how to place the fabrics. So B2B's on the bottom. So now all I have to do is come in here and we're going to do a cut line 1. And then we're going to do this one, but that's also cut line 1. So the templates for template layout sheet number 4 and template layout sheet number 3 are basically a mirror image of each template. So I have 2 colors here. So I'm going to take the bottom 2 colors off, and I'm going to take the bottom 2 colors off of this one and stack those together. And then I'm going to move this template that has that color on it and put it onto that stack. We're going to do the same thing with this one. And these pieces actually go into bag B1. And it does tell you that at the bottom. It says the unit B1 pieces are placed in bag B1. And this is a B1 template. So I'm going to stack these pieces. And I can actually just stack them together. There. Now I probably should leave them separate, because they're going to go with 2 different groups in there. So we're going to put these in bag with bag B1 for now. And we're going to do the same thing on this piece. We're going to separate the colors. So I'm putting 4 colors of the same fabric under each template. And then these go into bag B2. And I'm going to go ahead and just slip them inside the bag. Now we're going to cut fabric B3A and B3B, and it's done the same way. And I have little fabric swatches on the side that tell me what my fabrics are. And then it tells me that number 6, template layout sheet number 6, goes along the right side. So I have 4 colors under one of my templates and 4 colors under the other template. And following that down, that's telling me that these go into bag B2. So we're going to slip those into bag B2. And then this template goes on to this side. Now, if I was using all the same color fabric, I wouldn't have to be switching the fabrics around to match the little template swatch on my pieces. And these go into bag B1. Now we start with this is fabric B4A and B4B. And my A fabric is on the top on this one and this one. Template layout sheet number 8 goes right here. And since I'm putting this away, I'm going to quickly write that this is actually my A group on here, and this is my B group. So these go into bag B2. And then this template layout sheet and on this one is my A group. This is my B group. Let's go into bag B1. We have one more strip group to go here of the little pieces. So on this one, the number 10 layout sheet goes here. That's fine. And my black is my B. And the gray is the A. And these go into bag B2. And this one is fabric A. And this is fabric B. And these go into my bag B1. Let's click those. Okay, we have one more piece of fabric to cut, and that's fabric B6. And if you look at the way fabric B6 is set up, it says to cut 226-inch by 42-inch strips. And that was the instructions for in Quiltster. Then it tells you to subcut and stack 4 13-inch. You're going to subcut and stack the strips into 4 13-inch by 42-inch strips. So I actually started out with 2 26-inch strips. Then I cut my strips into 4 13-inch strips. Okay. If you look at your template pieces, they come in a layout sheet, and the B2R templates. So notice this dashed line around here. What that's telling you is don't cut those apart right now. You're going to put the layout sheet onto your fabric, and then you're going to cut the individual pieces out. So I've already cut out the pieces for the second half. So I divided my fabrics last night, and I'm cutting all my B1Rs from 4 of the strips, and I cut the other side of the template for the others. So I'm going to take and put some glue on the back side of this. Now I'm going to flip this piece over and make sure I'm lined up, and I should have 4 pieces of fabric under them. All 4 pieces need to be facing right side up. Okay. Now we're going to cut around the layout sheet. And you want to make sure you have fabric on all the sides. I'm going to move this down just a touch. So when we work with a template layout sheet for our T-templates, the reason we're doing that is because we have found that if we scoot them together on the paper, it's easier for you to get more fabrics and less yardage that way. The other thing we do is we're able to keep the grain lines all set up on all of the pieces. Even if we had little tiny pieces, we could set up the grain line so that all the grain lines going around the outside of your quilt properly. So now I'm going to move my book for a minute, and I'm going to show you how I cut these. So if I'm looking at my sheet, I have a curved seam here, a curved seam here, and all the rest of them are straight. So I'm going to grab my diamond curved ruler to start with, and I'm going to lay it right down here on that line. And I'm going to start cutting. Now these are T-templates, so these have to be cut right on the line. There's no excess on this. All right. So I've just about got that cut all the way. Now I'm going to roll this around, and I'm going to grab this other curved seam. Now this ruler doesn't match perfectly, but it's really close, so all you have to do is slide it just a little bit. Okay, so I have that curved seam done now. Now I'm going to take my straight ruler, and I'm going to start cutting. I think what I'm going to do is cut this piece first. That way, if my paper slides at all, I have room for that to move a little bit. So I'm going to take that and cut, and then I'm going to make that into one piece there. The next cut I'm going to make is going to be this edge right here. The next cut I'm going to make is going to be, get rid of that, this edge. Grab my little smart corner there. Now I'm going to lay it right on that line. And those two templates are butted up against each other, so you've got to be on the center line that divides both of them. Now we're going to cut the dog ears off of my smart corners. And I'm going to put a paper clip on there. I'm actually going to do a couple of them. So I have a TRP line here, and I'm going to have to come back, but I'm going to wait on these TRP lines until I'm ready to assemble, and then I'm going to take a look at them and see, can I mark them with a pencil, or do I actually need to sew them? Because this is going to be the last section. The border is going to be the last border on this quilt. We're going to put paper clips on this one. And here again, we're going to take a look at this for a minute, because here's a T-template out here, and if I'm not going to add anything else to my quilt, I don't have to do that T-template, so I can actually take that and cross that off. This is my curve. These are going to be really important. I really suggest that you sew these, so I'm just going to put a sew on there. And then these pieces are going to be lined up with some of my other pieces, and if it's on the bottom, depending on where it's at, this is kind of a maybe. So I'm going to wait on this one as well, and I'm just going to write a little mark maybe on it, telling me that I may or may not sew those. I might just fold my paper and mark them with some chalk. Now we have one more piece here that we have to clean up. Okay, these pieces are going to go back into bag B3 at this point. I have to fold them a little bit better than that. Okay, that completes all of the cutting for my B group. So the next thing we're going to do is the stacking and the paper piecing. I'm actually going to put these aside and do these later. And I'm going to show you how to get this set up with the two colorways. So I have all my template pieces here. And then we're going to pull our papers out. And because I have all these swatches, I don't need my instructions. All I'm going to do is pair up the little strip sets with my papers. So the other thing we're going to do is we're going to put fabric group A on the top and fabric group B on the bottom. Okay, and we're going to number our papers, and this is we're going to start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then I'm going to lay these pieces out in order. So that's 8, 6, 5, or that's actually section 4 and 2. So I'm going to find my template pieces for B1-1. And that happens to be these. And I have my 4 A pieces stacked on the top and the 4 B pieces on the bottom. So that's actually for section 1. And then what I really want to start with is section 7. So this is section 7 right here. And on this fabric, it looks like my A is this color. I put fabric A, so that needs to be on the top. And my 4 blacks need to be on the bottom. And that is for section 7, so we're going to stack that right like that. Then we're going to put 6 on top. And now we're going to find the template pieces for B15. And that's these pieces. And that one tells me that this is my B fabric and this is my A fabric. So we're going to stack that. And that's going to go like that. Then we're going to put 4, section 4. And then we need B13, which is this one. And my A fabric is the black. My B fabric is the gray on this template piece. So get those stacked in order, and that goes on there like that. And then my last piece, my A fabric, is my black, and this is my B fabric. Let's see, this is section 2, so that goes like that, and then this is my section 1. So now I have this all stacked in the order for paper piecing. So when I'm doing paper piecing and I have everything in the order in which it's going to be sewn onto each foundation paper, I don't want to just do like 1 template or 3 templates. I need to do the whole thing. So what I'm going to do is go through and show you how to put the pieces on the first 2 sections, and then I'll finish the paper piecing. And then once we get the paper piecing all caught up, then I'll come back and show you how to do the assembly process on these blocks. So we're going to do the paper piecing starting right now. And my very first piece is my black. And remember, we have to flip this one over. It looks like we want the wide at the bottom. So I'm going to take this, put it on there. I have an angle here. And so this piece is going to fit on here like that. And I want to make sure that I have this piece covered down here. So don't just line it up here. It needs to be up there a ways, and you have plenty of room. I don't need all this excess here, so we're going to clean that off. And I'm going to glue that one down Then I'm going to take my next piece, and since I know how much of this I'm going to cut off, I'm just going to come up here and slice that off. And then this is the wrong side of my fabric. We're going to put glue under section 1 and get that positioned on there. So that's 1, 2. Oh, there's my other piece. It's easy to pick up a couple of those pieces at the same time. I'm going to move this one down a little bit. Now we're going to grab the B group. That's going to go like that. This is the wrong side of my fabric. I think I must have 2 pieces of foundation paper on one of them, because I'm one short. So that's 8. This is 7. Haha. There's that one's out of order. There's my number 6 paper. That's why you number the papers. So this is number 5. This one's number 6. This one's number 7. And this is number 8. All right. So now we have those all set up. We're going to pick up the first piece, and we're going to find our add a quarter ruler. We're done with the glue, done with the markers, done with the pencil. We need that glue stick. So I'm going to place this on line 1, and then I'm going to fold back the foundation paper, and we're going to trim. And then we're going to just set it aside over here. Then we're going to take the foundation paper. This is number 7. Fold back trim. Okay, so what you're going to notice is that I did not do any tracing. Whoops. Oh well. I did not do any tracing on the back side. So now I need to figure out where section 2 line ends up. So I'm going to come down here, and at the bottom of line 1, I'm going to poke a hole in my paper right there. And then I'm going to take this fold template, and I'm going to fold that dashed line, and that dashed line is the one next to line 2. Okay? And when I fold this back, now I can see that next section. Here's the top of my paper. So I have to have fabric underneath this section of the paper. So we're going to grab our template pieces. This is right side up. This is my sew side. And we're going to take the first piece and we're going to slide it underneath. So see how that excess is set in there? So what I'm going to do is, because that confuses some people, I'm going to take this and stack this again. I'm going to take this template on here, and I'm going to get rid of that excess up there. I'm going to just leave me a little bit, but that'll help me as I'm going down this side, and I won't get lost where to position my pieces. So now we're going to do that again. So this one is going to go on there just like that. Then I'm going to take my next piece of fabric and I'm going to bring this over. That made it a lot easier for me to see how to position it up along this top, and I don't have to keep going back and poking the holes at the bottom. So it's going to save me a little bit of time. So I'm going to put this one on here. So we take this one. I'm going to move this one over just a little bit because it looks like there's a little tiny cut along that edge on that piece. And I'm going to fold it and move that as far over as I can to avoid that little cut. And then I'm going to retrim it. Then I'll reposition it. And my other little pieces also have that little cut, so I'm just going to trim them off right now. I must have sliced that fabric a little bit close. There we go. Now we're going to take our glue pen and we're going to glue these long edges together. Okay, now we're going to start sewing on line 1. And you guys have seen me do a lot of paper piecing. I'm just going to open it up. I'm going to sew on line 1. Then we press, we iron, and we just run through the process of the paper piecing until all these pieces are completed. And I don't think you guys need to watch me do this, so we're going to pause and then we'll come back with a video to show you how to finish assembling the border and what parts of the border to assemble. Okay, this demonstration, this part of the demonstration today is on how to finish the border units for your star shimmer. And so a couple things you need to know about it is in your booklet, it shows you how to join the pieces. And you want to follow that illustration in your booklet, because we're going to join these two pieces, we're going to join these section, and then we're done. You don't sew anything else together. If this is the end of your quilt and you're not adding any other borders, then there will be another instruction video coming out that shows you how to assemble all of the components within the 3-round quilt with the bee borders. And remember, we have several different options for bee borders. We will have video for all of them, but you're not going to sew anything together other than to complete the curved piecing today for this border, and until we're ready to assemble the whole quilt. So I put it up on the wall. I finished up all the paper piecing for all my units. And something I want to bring to you, another thing I want to bring to your attention is in the instructions, if you guys have some of the patterns that have these instructions, there is on the layout that tells you where your pieces go. I labeled the units incorrectly. Basically, I put unit B2 where unit B1 was. I looked at the back side of the paper and I labeled them incorrectly. So you need to make that correction, and you can get that correction off our internet if you have a book that has them in the wrong direction. But you can't sew this up wrong. So once you remove the paper, it's only going to go together one way. So if you look, this template is T-template B1L, and then this unit is actually unit B2, okay? When you get up to this part right here, this is T-template B3L, and this unit is B1. This template is B3R, and this unit here is a B2 unit. And this template right here is my B1R template, and this unit here is a B1 unit. So when you're looking at this on the wall, these two are your B2 units, and these two are your B1 units. And remember, we laid the fabrics out different in this unit than what we did here. On this one, we have our darks up in the top and our lights to the bottom, and these we reverse the order of our color in there. So when we put it together, this piece right here is going to this piece comes over here, and when your quilt is together, you will have that piece, these two pieces together. And so the four corners will look like this. The 4 side borders will look like that. So the other thing I want to go over is I was going to show you guys how to do the trimming on this unit, but the girls trimmed these before they gave them back to me. So I just want to show you that we use the curved diamond ruler to do a lot of our curves. And so it doesn't fit exactly along here, but it's very close. And if you have some curved rulers, try them. because you can normally just lay them on there, and then basically you're going to run that, and you're going to allow that ruler to roll as you push around it, and you just move it just slightly as you go. If you don't have a curved ruler that you feel like will work, we do sell these rulers, and this is called the curved diamond cutting and trimming ruler. And another ruler that we sell, and this is actually a Creative Grids ruler, and it's called the wave ruler. And again, it has just a slight curve to the top, a slight inside curve, and both rulers, there's not a lot of difference other than the radius, it's just a little bit different on them. So these are two rulers we use all the time to help us trim down our papers, and they work really good. So I'm gonna go through now, and I'm just gonna do some curved piecing on this unit. So we're gonna start with this piece right here. And if we pull these together, you will notice that I have sewn all the TRP lines, and there are a lot of TRP lines on this unit, okay? And I do want to go over those. So these two match up to this unit right here. This TRP line is going to match up to this little piece right here when you start sewing your main seams together. And this one is going to match up over here when you join these pieces, all right? The one on the top is there only if you're going to add another border to this quilt. So when you're looking at your TRP lines and you're looking at your template piece, if you're not going any bigger than the 57-inch, then you don't need to sew the TRP lines that are on the outside border. And so I'm adding a border, so I did all that sewing. The other thing I want to go over with you, and I'm going to grab my template, is when you cut these out, you only have one template. So you can't just take the template and sew it onto all your papers, because now you've sewn all four of your template pieces together. So what we like to do, there's a couple ways you can do it. One way is you can actually sew all four pieces together, and when you start to assemble, if you're going to assemble this as you are pulling these pieces off, normally your stitches that you sewed are going to leave little holes in your fabric right there, and you're able to lift it up and see where those holes are and actually use that as your registration line as you're building your quilt. So that works pretty good when you do it that way. However, if you're going to do a little bit of sewing and then come back a few days later, by the time you get back, all of those little holes on these side seams are going to be gone. So you're going to have a hard time seeing where those pieces went. Here's what I'd like to do. I like to actually sew all four pieces together. So I had all four of my template pieces sewn together with this on the top. Then I removed this, and I took a white chalk pencil, and let's see if I have one here. I'm not seeing it, so we're going to pretend that I have one, okay? So I have my paper, and I have all four pieces. I remove the paper, and then I take a pencil and I mark the line where I'm sewing all four pieces together. Then I pull the stitches out, and I pull the stitch off the top piece, and I remove the top piece. Well, the stitches, I haven't removed them off the bottom, and so they're still laying there in that fabric. So then I mark the next layer with it, and then I remove that layer, and I keep going down until I get to the bottom layer of my template pieces. And now I actually have a mark with a white chalk pencil if I'm working with dark fabrics, and then you can also get chalk that's darker if you're working with lighter fabrics. So that's one way you can go about marking those. And then these are in, and if you have to put it away and come back 6 to 8 weeks later, you know that they're still there. Another way you can do this is you can actually take your papers and you can cut on these lines. And of course, now I need a pair of scissors, and I can't find scissors, so let me look. Here's a pair. I can actually cut right up that stitch line on all of these. And then I can take this individually and I can put it in position. And remember, don't worry, you have repositionable glue that you can use to hold this on, those templates on. But then all I have to do is just take the paper and fold it back and then mark along my cut line. And then you take the next one, mark along that cut line, the next one. After I mark them, I like to go in and sew them if I know I'm not going to get back to that quilt for a while, because then I don't have to worry about losing any of my marks. All right. So now I'm gonna show you, go ahead and we're gonna assemble these two pieces. So I have my TRP lines, so I'm just gonna flip them over. We're gonna find our flower pins over here. And we're gonna match up the first two. And then we're going to match up the next one. And remember, those, just match those lines so that they're parallel with each other. Now we're going to grab our glue stick. And I'm actually going to put my glue along the raw edges, and I'm going to match the smart corner at that end, and then I'm going to glue that down. Match that smart corner, and then I'm just going to put a little bit of glue in here as well. Now I have all my raw edges glued together, so when I sew, I don't have to worry about this moving, and I'm not going to get a lot of puckers and pleats in it because I've already glued those raw edges, and they're going to run through my machine at the same time. After I get that glued, I'm going to actually just take this and kind of get this to roll and kind of pleat so it's laying pretty flat. And then we're going to pick it up and we're going to start sewing. Get my thread back there. And I'm going to sew this seam at about a 2 point. And now you would go to the iron and press. I'm just going to put it up on the wall here. Then we're going to take our next piece and we're going to grab a flower pin, match your TRPs. And glue the raw edges. Start at your end and match that smart corner. Glue back to your pin. Then we're going to sew this one together. All right. I don't think I have to sew the other side. Basically, this is the way your quilts get. This is all the sewing you're going to do on your border. And we won't go any further with it until we're ready to sew the actual quilt top together. And we will do a demonstration on how to do that and that will follow this actual demonstration. So that is the completion of the Star Shimmer border. And I want to say goodbye.